בפברואר 1960 יוצא סוכן המוסד צבי אהרוני לבואנוס איירס כדי לאתר את האיש שתכנן את ביצוע הפתרון הסופי. צבי אהרוני חי בסביבה כפרית שלווה בדרומה של אנגליה. הוא הצטרף למודיעין הישראלי ב-1949 והתמחה בעיקר בחקירות.
I was born in 1921, and when Hitler came to power, I was 12 years old. There was only one or two Jewish boys in my class, and you can imagine how we were treated by our so-called friends. There wasn't a day that we were not insulted. Sometimes we were even beaten. You grew up in an atmosphere of insults and of persecution. That's the way you grew up. So can you imagine a child growing up in this atmosphere, the way you feel about Nazi Germany? And we were very lucky to escape only 1 month before the Kristallnacht, when all the synagogues were burned and Jewish shops were smashed to pieces. We were very lucky to get away 1 month before. And all the others, aunts, uncles, nephews, they all disappeared. Their fate was what 6 million other Jewish people in the concentration camp.
מאז מלחמת העולם השנייה, המידע המודיעיני על אייכמן הצטבר לכדי תיק עב כרס. התיק מכיל את תנועותיו בזמן המלחמה, את נתוניו האישיים ורשימה מפורטת של פשעי המלחמה שביצע.
Cuando haga sus apuestas, juéguese por lotería de la provincia de Buenos Aires. Ahora de nuevo con su tradicional visita. אהרוני מגיע לבואנוס איירס בדרכון דיפלומטי ישראלי הנושא את השם דוד רודן. בסיפור הכיסוי שלו הוא איש משרד החוץ, העורך תחקיר על התפשטות האנטישמיות בארגנטינה.
Para mayores informes, ustedes pueden hacerlo en Presidente Perón 725, sexto piso.
מתייצב בשגרירות ישראל, ורק אדם אחד בשגרירות יודע מה המטרה האמיתית של שליחותו.
The way we worked in Mossad, like any other better intelligence service, that you have to know only what you need to know to do your job. In other words, I didn't have the faintest inkling of any information about the Eichmann file until I was chosen to go there. I didn't know that 2 people had been there before. I didn't know about Chacabuco. I didn't do anything. It wasn't in my sphere of work. So I made it clear to my contact in the embassy that I need local help. I need volunteers to help me. And from the beginning, I had taken a decision that I would take certain risks.
אהרוני מתחיל את משימתו בתצפית על רחוב צ'קבוקו 4261. כדי לא לעורר חשד, הוא שולח מתנדב מקומי לבחון את הבית. הבית ריק מדייריו, אבל סיידים העובדים בו מאשרים שמשפחה גרמנית התגוררה כאן עד לפני חודש. השם קלמנט עדיין מופיע על מוני החשמל. אהרוני מנסה לאתר את כתובתם החדשה.
The 4th of March, which according to my file was the birthday of Eichmann's oldest son. So I thought I must make use of that. I bought a present, a lighter, quite an expensive lighter. I wrapped it up in the embassy, and one of the girls in the embassy wrote to my friend Nikki, with all best regards, all best wishes. And I took another boy of those Jewish helpers. I told him, take this to Chacabuco and ask for Nicholas Clement. The idea was, as always, I know from experience, people are always more willing to help you if there's something to deliver. If you want to get something, let's say he owes me money, I'm looking for him, they're not so eager to help you.
הפעם מספרים הסיידים למתנדב שבמוסך השכונתי עדיין עובד אחד הבנים ממשפחת קלמנט. שם מוסר המתנדב את המצית לדיטר, אחיו של ניקולס אייכמן.
I decided we have to follow Dieter after work. He must go home. And then we find where he lives. We were told that he has a scooter, a motor scooter, and we tried to follow a scooter, but we wasn't very sure it's the right one. And when we finally managed to follow the scooter, at that stage, the youngster who spoke to Dieter, who was with me in the car, told me it's not the same person. He wasn't sure anymore. So I got really frustrated. So I did something quite desperate. I took the same boy. I told him, look, you go back to the garage. You tell him your friend is angry. He claims that you never delivered the present, and he wants the money from you. And either you get the address, where do they live? You want to know where they live. You want to speak to Mr. Clement. Or at least make sure that you have a good look of the boy. And if you follow him, make sure it's him, and don't tell me you're not sure, yes or no, because it's ridiculous. He came back and he had the address. There was no address, but the exact description how to find it. By the bus stop, there's a kiosk, 100 meters from the kiosk. Not only that, he told us that Dieter told him angrily, if you claim that I didn't deliver the parcel, why didn't you write the right name? There's no Nicholas Clement. It's either it's Nicholas Eichmann. So when he came back to report, he was very depressed. I said, what happened? He said, we followed the wrong person. The name's not Clement, it's Eichmann. So yeah, you can imagine how depressed I was. This was the next step. We had the address, and we knew that the family is called Eichmann.
אהרוני נעזר במתנדב נוסף. נפתלי, ארכיטקט במקצועו, התבקש לבדוק במרשם העירוני את שם בעליו של בית מסוים ברחוב גריבלדי.
And after 2 days he came and he had a smile, this white, although I never mentioned the name Eichmann. He didn't know what I was after. But he was guessing. And he said, I found for you the registered owner of plot number 18, which is Veronika Liebel de Fischmann. So this meant three things to me. Number one, we knew that Eichmann's wife was called Veronika Liebel before she married him. Number two, Fischmann and Eichmann, there's only one stroke missing. So either it was a genuine mistake by the clerk who made it, or it was planned by the Eichmann family not to have their names. But the most important piece of information was the fact that it was registered in her name. That meant to me that he didn't want to appear as the owner, and she was still married to him. After 1 or 2 or 3 patrols, I first saw the woman, elderly woman, which later we found out it was his wife. We saw a little boy of 6 or 7 years playing outside in the garden, which later we found out was his 4th son, which was born after he joined his wife in Argentine. And I saw a man, which fitted by age, by height, by description, fitted the general description we had of Eichmann.
אהרוני ממהר לשגרירות ושולח מסר מוצפן למטה המוסד בתל אביב. הוא מצא את אייכמן. בזמן המועט שנותר עד לחזרתו המיועדת לתל אביב, אהרוני מנסה פעם נוספת לצלם את אייכמן. יום ראשון, 3 באפריל. ליד גשר הרכבת, כמה מאות מטרים מן הבית, מלמד אהרוני את רנדי, מתנדב נוסף, איך להשתמש במצלמה שבתיק. הוא ממתין עד שאייכמן מופיע בחצר הבית, ואז שולח את רנדי לעברו. על פי התוכנית על רנדי לשאול אם יש באזור בתים להשכרה. רנדי מפעיל את המנגנון. התוצאה היא תצלומים של הבן השלישי דיטר, והתמונות הברורות הראשונות של אייכמן זה 15 שנה. אהרוני מקבל הוראה לחזור הביתה. בטיסת ההמשך מאירופה לישראל, הוא פוגש באקראי את הבוס שלו, איסר הראל, הנוסע באותו מטוס.
He asked me, are you definitely sure that this is Eichmann? This is our man, he asked me. And I took a picture from my pocket, which I had for this. I had kept a copy in my pocket. I tell you, I have not the slightest doubt. And here's the picture. And then he said, okay, in this case, we're going to get him.
24 באפריל חוזר סוכן המוסד צבי אהרוני לבואנוס איירס בכיסוי של איש עסקים גרמני. עמו מגיע צוות החלוץ המונה 4 אנשים, מוטל עליהם להכין את התשתית למבצע הלכידה. שאר הסוכנים עתידים להגיע בתוך שבוע. עליהם יצטרף גם ראש המוסד איסר הראל. כל כך הרבה מוטל על הכף, שהראל מחליט לקחת את הסיכון הכרוך בשהייה בשטח כדי לפקח מקרוב על הפעולה. הם מבחינים במשהו שמתגלה כחיוני ביותר לתכנון החטיפה.
Whilst we were driving past the house, between the kiosk and the house, which is only 100 or 150 meters, we saw Eichmann walking down the road towards his house. Actually, Avrom was the first to see him, and he shouted, here he is, here's our man. And I braked the car much too fast. There was no reason for a certain braking. It might have worried him, but anyway, I braked the car and we watched him going down the road and going into his house, which was a real bit of luck, because it so happened that every evening on the same bus, he came home from his work around 8 o'clock, and he walked home and we could observe him.
מכונית החוטפים נהוגה בידי צבי אהרוני ולצידו זאב קרן. מאחור יושבים מפקד המבצע רפי איתן וצבי מלחין שתפקידו לתפוס את אייכמן. אברהם שלום נוהג במכונית הסיוע ועמו רופא הנמצא בכוננות למקרה חירום. המכוניות מתמקמות בעמדותיהן. זאב קרן מרים את מכסה המנוע כמנסה לאתר תקלה.
The bus stopped and the men came off the bus. Our subject, left the bus and started walking down the road. And I had binoculars, with night vision. I reported to Rafi, I reported to Zwicker, the man is coming.
I jumped on him, he fell into a ditch there.
The men started howling and screaming and shouting, which I thought can be heard a mile away, which was most unpleasant. The 3 of them dragged him, still howling, into the car, put a blanket on him, and the race was on. A 100 yards away from his house, I shouted to him in German, seien Sie ruhig, es wird Ihnen nichts passieren. Wenn Sie sich wehren, werden Sie erschossen. Sit still, nothing will happen to you. If you resist, we will shoot you, you will be shot. Quiet, nothing happens. So I shouted at him in German, do you understand? No reply. So I shouted in Castellano, ¿Qué lengua habla? What language do you speak? No reply, quiet. I thought maybe he's passed out, maybe he's unconscious. And after we drove maybe less than half a mile, or maybe a mile, not more than 3 minutes, I heard him saying in very clear language, very clear, very good German, Ich habe mich schon in mein Schicksal ergeben, which means in English, I'm already resigned to my fate. Then this was a very important indication. I knew that this is our man. He is German, he's not dead, he's not unconscious, and he's got something on his conscience. He's made up with his fate. Asked him, what's your name? He said, Ricardo Clement. He said, what was your name before that? He said, Otto Heininger, which was true, which we didn't know at that time. But of course, it gave me a little bit of a shock. I thought, we're in a bad mess. He will never admit that he's Adolf Eichmann. He knows the meaning. So I started interrogating him about his family, about what is your size in shoes, in shirts, in hat, because we had all this from the file. I asked him, what's your number in the SS number? He gave me the correct number. What's your number in the party, NSDAP? He gave me the correct number. I said, what's your date of birth? And he gave me the correct date, 19th of March, 1906. That was a very hopeful sign. And then I asked him, what was your name at birth? He said, Adolf Eichmann. This was something difficult to describe, the feeling we had at this moment. And I remember I was standing on one side of his bed. He was lying on a bed, blindfolded. Avrum, the next commander of the security service, was standing on the other side, and we both automatically, we shook hands. This is it.
בבית המבטחים, צבי אהרוני מנסה לשכנע את אייכמן להתייצב מרצונו בפני בית משפט בישראל.
So it took me 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and on the third day, before I opened my mouth when I met him, he said, yes, I'm prepared to come with you to stand trial.
אהרוני גם מצליח לשכנע את אייכמן לעגן את הסכמתו בהצהרה זו בכתב ידו ובחתימתו. אדולף אייכמן נתון עתה לחלוטין בידיים ישראליות.